Voter intimidation is using threats, coercion, or attempts to intimidate or interfere with a person's right to vote for their chosen candidate. Americans are coming together to have their voices heard and be counted in our democracy. With so much concern regarding voter intimidation and misinformation, we want to review what your rights are as a voter, so you can spot potentially illegal activity and feel confident reporting it. Election day should be a time to celebrate the exercise of our civil rights, not a time for fear. Voter intimidation, or even attempting to intimidate a voter, violates civil federal law and can be enforced by private individuals, state attorneys general, and the U.S. Department of Justice. Section 131B of the Civil Rights Act of 1957 states that no person, whether acting under color of law or otherwise, shall intimidate, threaten, coerce, or attempt to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any other person for the purpose of interfering with the right of such other person to vote or to vote as he may choose. But what does all of this mean? Voter intimidation can be subtle and is often dependent on the context in which it occurs. Some examples include falsely presenting oneself as an election official, spreading false information about voting requirements, opposing candidates, and even intimidating persons who may be considering running against incumbents. All of these scenarios are happening in your own backyard, or confronting voters or disrupting polling places. Threatening voters with economic harm can also count as voter intimidation. State and local election officials play a crucial role in defending elections against these threats and in protecting voters from disenfranchisement due to disinformation. Internet companies and members of the public can also take action against deceptive practices, voter intimidation, and other forms of digital vote suppression. In all cases, accurate information from trusted official sources provides the best antidote to disinformation about voting. Deceptive election practices are most commonly used in the last days before an election because they are presumably most effective if spread without time for rebuttal before voting begins. While dirty tricks in elections are an old phenomenon, in the 21st century, deceptive practices have become more dangerous than ever before. The continued growth of the internet and social media platforms has made it easier and more affordable to reach huge numbers of people instantaneously and anonymously. Now, however, bad actors can use sophisticated micro-targeting to surgically focus on certain demographics, and they can direct disinformation either toward disrupting a specific local election or an opposing candidate or toward a specific audience. People who attempt to suppress the vote by spreading false information may be violating several federal and state laws. Many states prohibit various forms of voter intimidation and election interference and impose criminal or civil penalties. State and local election officials are the most important players in addressing the use of disinformation to suppress votes. They must establish themselves as trusted sources of accurate information for voters in their communities. The most urgent response to instances of disinformation to suppress voting is to disseminate correct information. On Facebook, for example, users can report content as voter interference, but that only triggers monitoring for trends in the aggregate. It does not lead to a manual review for takedowns. All internet users are responsible for helping to stop the spread of digital disinformation about voting. Users who see a post or a message that seems suspicious or outlandish, or fits too neatly into a partisan political narrative, should investigate before sharing. It is useful to consider the source, to find out the speaker's political agenda and what other content they have shared. Social media users can help spread correct information once they have confirmed it by sharing it in their own networks without repeating the falsehood. Subscribe for more information and to stay updated.